Have you ever heard of Hedy Lamarr? Maybe not, but right now you are most likely using the invention she helped create, which is the foundation for Wi-Fi, GPS, and Bluetooth. Born as Hedwig Eva Maria Kiesler on November 9, 1914 in Vienna, Austria, she was an extraordinary woman whose life encompassed everything from the silver screen to scientific breakthroughs. Today, we will share her fascinating story of talent, intelligence, determination, and explore the legacy that revolutionized the world. Hedy was born into a well-off family. Her mother was a pianist and her father a banker, allowing her to grow up in a culturally stimulating environment. From a young age, she showed an inclination for the arts and sciences, two fields that would later define her life. Her beauty and talent were evident early on, so much that at 16, Hedy left school to pursue acting, debuting in the film Geld auf der Straße, Money on the Street, in 1930. She catapulted to fame with her role in Ecstasy, 1933. The film was controversial and caused a scandal due to its explicit nature for the time period. All the attention she got from Ecstasy brought her new opportunities, including a starring role in 1933 for the stage production of Sissy, a play about Empress Elizabeth of Austria. For the first time, she was praised by her skills, not just her beauty. Her amazing performance caught the attention of Austrian munitions dealer Friedrich Fritz Mandl. He became such an obsessed fan that they married in 1933. Unfortunately, Mandl was extremely controlling, forbidding her from acting, but she was forced to host at his social events, where she mingled with malicious figures like Mussolini and Hitler. In 1937, Hedy finally escaped her miserable marriage and moved to the United States. However, it was also during this marriage that she developed an interest in weapon technology and engineering, knowledge that would later prove useful. She first escaped her marriage by heading to London. It was there that the tides turned for her when she met Louis B. Mayer, co-founder of MGM Studios. He persuaded Hedy to change her name as a way to start fresh, detaching herself from her previous oppressive life. He called her Hedy Lamarr, a reference to the late silent film star Barbara Lamarr. Hedy quickly became one of Hollywood's most iconic stars after arriving in the United States. Her film career took off with Algiers, where she played Gabby, a mysterious woman caught in a web of intriguing romance. Her performance in this film was the springboard that launched her to stardom, highlighted by her magnetic presence with an ability to portray complex and fascinating roles. Throughout her career, Lamarr appeared in more than 30 films, working with some of the biggest names in the film industry of her time. In Lady of the Tropics, she starred alongside Robert Taylor, portraying a beautiful mestiza in Saigon, caught in a forbidden romance. This film solidified her image as a tragic and romantic figure, a recurring role in her filmography. One of her most famous roles was in Boomtown, where she acted alongside Clark Gable, Spencer Tracy, and Claudette Colbert. Lamarr played Karen Van Meer, a woman whose beauty and charm spark a rivalry between Gable's and Tracy's characters. Her performance was acclaimed, as the film was a box office success, underscoring her ability to hold her own with the top actors of her era. However, her most memorable and probably most iconic role was in Samson and Delilah. In this biblical epic, Lamarr portrayed Delilah, the seductive woman who betrays Samson, played by Victor Mature. The film was a huge success, becoming the highest-grossing production of 1950, cementing her status as one of Hollywood's leading stars. Lamarr's scenes as Delilah, especially the sequence where she cuts Samson's hair, have become indelible images in the history of cinema. In addition to these roles, Lamarr had the opportunity to work with renowned actors such as James Stewart in Come Live With Me and John Garfield in Tortilla Flat. Each film showcased not only her beauty, but also her ability to portray a wide range of emotions and characters, from strong, independent women to tragic and romantic figures. Although she turned down roles in such classics as Casablanca and Gaslight, Lamarr left an enduring mark on the film industry. For most of her life, Hedy Lamarr's beauty overshadowed her intelligence. Fortunately, she never let go of her scientific curiosity. Away from the Hollywood spotlight, Lamarr was a prolific inventor. She often worked on her ideas at a workbench in her home, which was equipped with a small laboratory thanks to her friend, aviation magnate Howard Hughes. Hughes, like Lamarr, was a curious and creative spirit, and gave her access to his scientists and laboratories, telling her, "Anything you want, my scientists will do for you." Her most notable contribution was the invention of the frequency hopping system, a technology that laid the foundation for modern Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. Today, it is better known as spread spectrum. After the US entered World War II in 1941, driven by a deep sense of duty to the Allies, Hedy Lamarr decided to use the knowledge she had about munitions and weaponry to contribute to the war effort. Around this time, she met composer and pianist George Antheil. He had an inventive spirit similar to Hedy, and together they developed a revolutionary idea, a communication system that would allow torpedoes to be controlled by radio signals that would be nearly impossible for the enemy to intercept or block. This system was based on the idea of frequency hopping, which involved constantly and synchronously changing the radio signal frequencies between the transmitter and receiver to avoid enemy interference. Radio-controlled torpedoes used during the war were guided by one continuous signal. This made it easy for enemies to intercept and avoid attack. George Antheil, known for his work in player-piano synchronization, applied his knowledge of mechanical music to help Lamarr design the system. The idea was to use rolls of paper with 88 perforations, similar to those used in player pianos, to synchronize the 88 possible frequency jumps between the transmitter on the ship and the receiver on the torpedo. This process ensured that the signal would be intelligible only to devices tuned to the same changing frequencies, so any attempt at interference would be met with an unintelligible signal. They were granted a U.S. patent on August 11, 1942, under the name Secret Communication System. However, when they presented their invention to the United States Navy, it was rejected. Naval officers couldn't see past the use of player piano rolls and considered the idea impractical. To make matters worse, since Hedy wasn't a U.S. citizen at the time, the U.S. government seized her patent on the pretext that it was property of an alien because of Lamarr's Austrian heritage. It was suggested that if Hedy wanted to help with the war effort, she should use her celebrity to help sell war bonds and participate in USO presentations to help boost the troops' morale. She went on to sell $25 million worth of war bonds, or $343 million in today's money. Hedy helped in the best way she could, but was upset, saying, "I was American enough to sell war bonds, but I was an alien when it came to my invention." She became a citizen in 1953. Unfortunately, in 1959, after years of being ignored, Lamarr and Antheil's patent expired, and they did not renew it. But the idea did not die. Ironically or purposely, the U.S. Navy started to use a similar invention only after the patent had expired, so Hedy Lamarr never received any compensation for her invention. In the 1960s, the concept was used by the U.S. military during the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Vietnam War. The true extent of Lamarr's technological legacy became apparent in the modern era. Her frequency hopping principle is the basis for Wi-Fi, which allows devices to connect wirelessly, Bluetooth, which facilitates short-range communication between electronic devices, and GPS, which provides accurate geolocation services. The Electronic Frontier Foundation officially recognized their contributions in 1997, awarding Lamarr and Antheil the prestigious Pioneer Award. In contrast, Lamarr's personal life was turbulent. She was married 6 times and had 3 children, one of whom was adopted. Her marriages were mostly unhappy, marked by infidelity and abuse. Despite her professional success, Lamarr struggled with loneliness and insecurity, and her later years were overshadowed by financial and legal problems. As she aged, Lamarr withdrew from public life and spent her last years in seclusion. She died at her home in Castleberry, Florida, on January 19, 2000, at the age of 85. However, her legacy lives on not only in her films, but also in the technological innovations she helped create. In 2014, she was posthumously induced into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. This led her to be known as the Mother of Wi-Fi. At a time when women were often relegated to supporting roles, Hedy Lamarr broke barriers in both Hollywood and technology. Lamarr was much more than a pretty face. She was a brilliant mind trapped in a world that couldn't see beyond her beauty. Her story is a testament to how curiosity, intelligence, and determination can defy expectations. Hedy Lamarr reminds us that mighty women can be multifaceted, and their genius can be found in the most unexpected places. If she is an inspiration to you, please let us know in the comments. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our upcoming videos.